Hello and welcome to the Happiness Is podcast with me, your host, Bruce Aitchison from Happiness is Egg Shaped. And I am smiling like a big dafty because today I am very excited. We are joined by someone who is absolutely at the forefront of the game at the moment. If you are on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, social media, she is friends to so many and is doing so many great things to promote the game of rugby. I am very excited that she's found some time in her extremely busy schedule away from dog walks and interviews and appearances all over with the great and the good of this game that we love. So let's not waste any time and please welcome the one and the only Victoria Rush. Hello.
Hey, thanks for having me. That was a really kind introduction. Thank you.
Well, you absolutely are. And you must have sore cheeks because you've had to smile a lot in the last few months because you're all over the place.
Yeah, I know. Well, I, yes and no. It's a privilege to have the opportunity to just do the kind of crazy things that are happening, really. It's not going to last forever. So I'm trying to enjoy every moment I can. And there are funny moments when you're taking photos of people. I feel a bit like Mickey Mouse, just sort of standing there and waiting. But it's incredible. I don't think I'd ever thought this would be how life would sort of be happening, I guess. And the people that are, really happy to have the film and happy to be part of it and to have some involvement and stuff. It's been incredible. And the more meeting so many people and so many clubs. And I was actually at a screening at Millwall Rugby Club last night. Funnily enough, I haven't
Yeah.
seen the film in a couple of weeks, and I've seen it again. I've seen it so many times. But yeah, no, it's been great, and it's wonderful just to see everybody kind of coming together, and actually, sometimes I guess it's helping people feel a bit more positive about some of the situations they're in, and not alone with some of the situations they're in. So no, it's been fab. But yeah, I'm slowly trying to get the smile good enough in every photo, but sometimes they're a bit wonky.
I love the Millwall Rugby Club because you've been to some pretty plush do's, and it looks like it's all been timed to the second. With you've been up on stage with some pretty impressive people for
Yeah,
Q&As, and you had the premiere, and then the pictures from Millwall just looked proper
we're at
clubland.
rugby, right? That's
Yeah,
proper rugby, though, and that's it. It's the film. The film's this big shiny moment where you have those things like sitting at Saints at Franklin Gardens with Lewis Ludlam and Sarah Hunter, and I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, this is ridiculous. But those are wonderful things, and they're the people that help inspire. Like, I'm just hoping that No Woman No Try is a platform for that rather than necessarily myself, as I'm not that good at rugby. Let's be honest. Um, but no, it's been amazing, and hopefully there's many more to come.
you're very humble because I don't think it's just those guys that are inspiring. You're doing so much, and I think the people at Millwall Rugby Club would back me up on that. As I told you off air, I was messaging Rocky Clark last night, when really we should have both been in bed, but it cracked me up because she just kept going. You're a brilliant girl. You go above and beyond, and then my favourite bit was proper class lady.
My mum would be so proud. Yeah, Rocky's a legend. I met her a couple of months ago back at the varsity match, Oxford Cambridge, and
She told me that
we
too. She
we
told me
had
that
we had a
too.
few beers. It may have extended through the evening, but no, I owe her a couple of beers. So yeah, definitely, she's a legend.
So you've been to all these things. What have you just said yes to every single invite? Are you
Yes,
just trying to
very
lap everything
simply.
up? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. As long as it's possible, I'll be there. That's kind of how I see it, and for so many different reasons. Like, first of all, getting a film like this out to as many people as possible requires that one-to-one, like, go and tell everybody about it. Literally, take it everywhere you can. And secondly, I think the film, like you say, has had all these wonderful shiny moments. It's a big splash and making a lot of noise, but the real change comes in those clubs with those teams like Millwall last night, having conversations one to one with people about what they could do or what could help them, or just to reassure them that they're not the only people feeling this way. That for me is how the change actually happens, and we can't forget that the grassroots is actually the 99% of the game rather than the international sort of top, I don't know, 1-10%, whatever the numbers are. But so yeah, I'm everywhere if I can make it. I have had a bit of a break, fortunately, in the last couple of weeks, so I feel ready to do it again. But I was definitely wearing thin towards the end of May. It was getting tough, and my gym regime is out the window. I don't think I've been to the gym for like 3 months. I feel
Yeah, I'm the
horrendous. I
same.
just have nothing left in me. I was like, I can't. I've got to go away. I went on holiday and turned off all my social media apps, deleted the lot, even my emails, everything. Didn't have any connection to the outside world. The only every now and again my other half showed me like dog videos on Instagram, which I was fine with. But that's about the extent of what I saw for nearly 10 days. I would honestly recommend it to anyone. I I truly believe in the benefits of social media, especially for some of the stuff we're doing. But honestly, let your brain have a break. Even your emails. It was basically my mum that I was texting for a week. It was lovely.
And she'd be delighted to get her daughter back.
I think so.
So the film, and now I've watched it 3 times.
Oh, thank
Shauna
you.
makes me cry every single time. It just blows my mind. And then I actually messaged her and said, "I'm one of those 40 odd year men who you've made cry," because it's such a big moment. I'm dad to 2 girls who love sport. My wife is fully involved in sport, and I would call a game changer. Um, it is really important. Have you been surprised by anything that you've seen? Have you been happier maybe? Has there been moments where you thought, actually, it's better than I thought?
Yeah, yes, definitely. The latter for sure. I set out hoping that we could share a message that people would understand, and you'd think in a wonderful shiny world that that'll happen, and maybe a couple of people will reply, and even maybe like 5-10 people actually watch it. That's the aim. I think the boys that made it had a bit more faith in me than I did, and they were pretty adamant that it was going to be great, and it certainly is through an incredible amount of hard work from Ben and Jack. I will forever put it down to them. um but the messages I've had, and from sort of release day for maybe a couple of weeks, about a month, I was getting, the first few weeks I was getting messages plural a day, long essay sentence like conversations, just predominantly from men and dads telling me how it had altered their um sort of opinion and view on the women's game, or how they're trying to be better as allies, and now they have some information to refer to, and how it kind of reminded them of things they'd gone through as boys when they were younger, and that actually we're just kids regardless of gender, just trying to find a place to have fun and kick a ball around and feel welcome. And um I am not qualified to reply to some of the things that I've been sent, because they're these like almost like life-changing experiences they're sharing, and they're not the kind of thing you can just say thanks so much for watching it, really glad you liked it. That's not an appropriate response to that kind of message. So it was taking time. Everybody was taking a significant amount of time to get back to, and I really wanted to make sure I replied to everybody. Now I'm sure I've missed a few, I have to admit, but I tried my absolute best to make sure I got to as many people as possible, because that for me was really important. This game, it belongs to everybody, not just to governing bodies or international teams. It belongs to every player that picks up their boots once a year. Everybody that's pulled out of retirement to keep their local club going. Yeah, I think I was humbled and surprised by the number of people who did that, and the watch parties clubs had all over the world. I wish they'd sent me photos, because I didn't really see. Every now and again I hear a bit more about them. Oh, we did, and yeah, the number of clubs that got together to watch it in the hundreds, which is nuts. It's a real shame, because I need the viewing numbers, but if anybody hears it, just stick it on in the background. Don't tell Amazon I said that. But yeah, just people kind of came together to watch it, which was sort of, I guess, the point in the grand scheme of things. That was the idea, was to bring us all together. So the fact that literally to watch it, that happened, yeah, it's been mental. It's the only way I can describe it. Probably in about 10 years' time, I'll have a much better description for what's going on.
I like
But
it. It's mental.
yeah, at the moment, I'm just sort of trying to live in it and enjoy it as much as possible, and get it to as many people as possible.
I've been part of something, a film being made, and they're now trying to get it shown. So I know that there's a lot goes into it. This wasn't just tomorrow I'm going to make a film. Come on, you guys, let's go. How how on earth did you
Um,
get it off the ground?
I would say that's probably roughly how it went,
Oh,
actually.
did it?
Sort of. So, on the back of the I Am Enough movement, I knew that we'd had this wonderful ignite a passion in the, especially really within the women's game, but that hadn't translated much across, the message hadn't moved across to the men's game really. And that meant it certainly wouldn't have moved to the people sat in positions of power and privilege, the ones who control our funding and our access and everything that we need to make the game better. So like how can we take this, say we, I think it's such a female thing. I say we as I. How can I take this and turn into something that can make a bit more of a difference across the game, not just a sort of a day-long social media movement, but how do we turn it into something that has kind of legs to it, I suppose. And I sort of basically sat staring at it, turned off TV. I'm not kidding. I really did this, going, if it was on the telly, maybe like somebody's wife or daughter or sister or best friend would be like, you should watch this. You watch 5 minutes and hopefully you stay for the rest, right? And that was kind of how I was like, if it was my other half, he believes in everything I talk about and do because he has to, but he actually does believe in it too. So I was like, if you didn't, and I forced you to sit and watch a film that you probably didn't want to watch, and you got a few minutes in and stayed for it, then that's kind of, I guess, how we would probably start the process. I don't like that it's that way, and I don't like that it requires like having daughters sometimes for men to think about what women go through. But those are the cards we're dealt right now. You've got to kind of play to them. So that's mostly how our society works. Mostly, predominantly, your wife probably picks what's on the TV. That's fine, go with it. And I played around with the idea for a couple of months. I was like, is this a bad idea? So I was like, I'll wait. And if I still think it's a good idea in 3 months' time, I'll see if I can just, give it a shot, I guess. And that's how it happened. I found Ben and Jack through Benno Abano. So he had Everybody's Game come out, I think in the November.
Yeah.
And I saw the trailer and I was like, done. I knew I was on the right tracks. Messaged him on Instagram thinking I'm never going to hear from him. I probably shouldn't say this, but he has his email button on Instagram. I was like, email, I think it's gone now. It's probably because of me. And I was like, hey, look, you're basically done something very similar to what I want to do for the women's game. Could I just ask you a couple of questions? Don't worry if you're busy, kind of thing, expecting him to never reply. I think I got an email back that said, yeah, what's your number? And then a reply again going, sorry, that was too blunt. Thank you very much for your email. Really appreciate the kind words. Would love to chat. It was really sweet. And literally, he put me in touch with Ben and Jack, and that was it. Basically, I met them, sat them down for 4 hours on the sofa, told them everything I thought about inequality, how film could be part of it, what I think about things that can change. They said yes, and we joked that it was just to shut me up. And now here we are. Really, honestly, that is kind of how it played. It kind of sort of played out in its simplest form. We started filming like a week, so 10 days later or something ridiculous with Zainab, and that was the first interview. And then, yeah, like crazy, finished the film. Shauna's speech, so all these things just sort of happened. We'd finished filming with Shauna, and then they made it to the final. Then they win. Shauna gets player of the match. Like, you can't write that. At the end of the day, none of this is planned. This is just playing out in life in front of you. I'm like, guys, it's gonna be great. And then Shauna does the speech, and I think I texted the lads. I was like, somebody get me the rights to that interview. We have to use it. It's just the world just played it out for us. If they hadn't made it to the final, we wouldn't have had that speech. We wouldn't have had this moment for Shauna and this fantastic sort of closure of the film. And then yeah, in its simplest form, Amazon eventually agreed to pick it up. We spent ages, lawyers do things, no idea what. They phone you and like, there's this word I don't like, and I don't even know what that means. Can you use it in a sentence? Like, I still don't know what it means. It makes less sense now you've used it. And eventually, it all comes around to just delivering it all in the way that they need it and where they need it and when they need it. And they were like, global release. I was like, holy hell, it'll be everywhere. Like, everyone everywhere can watch it. And then, yeah, we sort of planned from there. So from January to sort of March, you just plan the release and the chaos. yeah, I posted the trailer on social media. My phone just exploded for the rest of the day. I was like, I don't really know what to do with this. So just sort of left it and went out for lunch. I'm not kidding. I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to go eat some food and hide. And people just from the 4th of March, people just every day somebody else found it and picked it up and sent a message or shared it or tagged us in it, and yeah, just the ball began rolling. It was I kind of wish I could go back to the day before. It was quite wonderful to have it to myself. The point is, it's not mine, it's everybody else's, it's for everyone, but there's something quite nice about it just being this project we'd worked really hard on that was kind of coming to fruition. But yeah, just posting a trailer and then putting your phone down. I was like, I'll get in the shower and just see if anybody sees it and come back. And it's just like, yeah, it was fab. I can't deny that. You never do it again, you know. It's the first one I've ever done.
Yeah.
Never made a film before, ever. I think that's still the kind of joke part of it. It's literally, I don't even know how to turn a camera on. I know what they look like now. I didn't know before. But yeah, it's been a really cool journey. And I'm still riding it.
I remember hearing, and I've seen your pictures with Johnny Wilkinson, he's exactly the same age as me. Johnny and I were born on the same day, and I played against him for about 2 minutes once many moons ago. And I would marry him. But he said he would have given anything for 15 seconds before the final whistle in the World Cup final. Not the celebration, not that bit. It was the bit just before. And it's that feel of you had control then, didn't you? You knew what was going on. And then
the sad thing is, on that day, I don't really talk about this, but there was a bit of a kerfuffle. It's a great word. Around the announcement and the press around it. So unfortunately, the sort of 12 odd hours leading up to that moment, which most of them I was asleep for, were really, really stressful, and they weren't fun at all. And I had to make a call at 9:45 what we were going to do. Were we going to hold off another 3 days, or were we just going to do it? So at 9:45, I was like, we're going. I'm done. I've waited 18 months for this moment. We're going. So it wasn't really this like wonderful, like, yay, here we go. It's just like, I've made a decision. And then I was like, I haven't written a social post. So I've got 15 minutes to write the biggest social post of my life, which is never the way to do it. Always pre-write it. Always. Yeah, so that's kind of it wasn't. So yeah, I would 100%. I'd like to go back maybe 12 more hours on top of that and just live the like, it's going to be great.
This is going to happen. Yeah, this is going to happen. Exactly. And the people that are in it, you gave such a platform to, who now, you know, the clothing line is all over the place. The shorts are now readily available, and you've got the No Woman No Try line as well.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. I just ordered all of mine yesterday, which is really late. I've just not got around to it. But yeah, I've literally bought my other half one of everything. I was like, you're having the lot, and I expect to see you in them every day.
And yeah, those are great things, though, aren't they? Because it's another little bit of ownership.
Yeah, and it's something for people to feel part of. I think that everything came back to making sure like the game knows that you're part of something else. And because I do feel like the top flight, especially the Premiership and the International, can feel quite far away from the rest of us picking up our boots on a Sunday and just scrabbling a team together and hoping bits don't fall off when you sort of start heading towards your 30s. And yeah, that's I guess the idea of having a clothing line kind of hilarious still to me, because I always thought that'd be really cool, but never really thought it'd be real. And then Steph was like, "We got to do it. Send me the logo." I was like, "Okay, sounds great," you know. But it's really nice to see it, and I wear the jumper all the time. Everyone's like, I'm so on brand. I've got my tote bag, I've got my jumper on. You can't miss it. But I think that's kind of been sort of this wonderful, slow, not planned evolution of it for everybody. And I hope that kind of, I think Shauna's still surprised that her head is on the back of the jumper. She was a little taken back by that. I didn't tell her until it was printed, which I probably should have done. So the cream jumper sweatshirt's got just Shauna's head on the back, which I think's fab. But I think she was slightly less in agreement with me.
I want to see her mum wearing one of those. I think that.
Oh my god, that's such a good shout! I'm going to send one to Leslie. Her mum is a hero, by the way. Her mum is the real MVP, honestly. What a legend.
There was so many nice little bits in there's the big moments like Shauna's speech, but there was listening to her sister talking and seeing the challenges that Steph had, and those proper little intimate moments that, again, you couldn't have planned, but you got and were so important to, anybody could watch any movie and they can be forgettable. It's the emotion that you connect to that makes it so
Yeah.
important. And that piece that you've produced has just had so many of them in it.
Yeah, we were really lucky. Everybody agreed to just do whatever they could. There was no promise of Amazon. There was barely a promise of YouTube. Realistically, it was just, I have an idea. I think it could work. If you're in, sort of let me know. And the joke with Shauna is just like, one day, sometime in early 2021, I think I DM'd her. We'd never spoken before. I said, "Okay, mate, making a film. Do you want to get involved?" She's like, "Who is this weirdo? I do not know." And it's like, "I want to make a film." Unfortunately, she said yes, but I just explained it to her. I was like, "I'm just hoping that there's a little girl that sticks in sport, because she could see some role models and some heroes on the telly, and that was really it." And the same with everybody. Z said yes the day before she won her Sunday Times Grassroots Sportswoman of the Year 2020. So she knew that we were in it for the right reasons, not because she won the award. We were super lucky that she won the award, and I've said that to her. You run it the next day, and I was like, gold. But all this stuff just happened for us. We were really lucky in that respect, and yeah, everybody just opened up their homes and their lives and their stories. Steph's story was really hard to listen to, but never going to be as hard as having to live through. And I certainly didn't know she was going to say that, which is why we cut the moment and you see what actually happened. And you see the room we're in. We're in a gym that a friend of mine from school runs in Bristol, and it was a kind of, I think, like early January or late winter last year, and everything was still locked down at gyms and stuff. And I was like, "Look, you've got this really big empty room. Can I borrow it for a couple of hours?" And he sat there and listened and watched us do it. And yeah, Steph sharing that moment, I was like, this will resonate with everybody, men and women. This isn't necessarily a gendered experience. There are so many boys who play rugby because it accepts their body shape and their body type for who they are, and that's exactly what Steph's talking about. She's just talking about being a kid that didn't fit into some of the mainstream society, and we all get that. So I was so proud of her for sharing it, but I didn't want to put it in the film unless, even though she'd said it, I didn't want to just stick it in the film like, well, you said it. We cut the scene together, and then I sent it to her and I said, "Look, I need you to sit with this for a couple of days and just let me know if you're comfortable with this. Don't want to share it without your actual approval. See it again and be sure." It's a really big thing to share, and a really, really honest moment. But yeah, she understood why it would be beneficial for people to see that story and to hear that story from her. But yeah, really tough. Just some really tough moments. But then you get people like Shauna's family and her grandpa, who absolute hero. Honestly, that man is great. Who just brings some light relief and some fun and some reality to just going home and having a cup of tea with your mum, and the WhatsApp group that she talks about, and it's all true. We just sat there, and the mum's like, "I just needed potatoes." It's just like, yeah, Shauna's family keep her really humble.
Yeah, I love that. Let's rewind the tape all the way back. I want to know if this is the truth. I read that your first game you caught the ball and felt like, this is me. Is
Training.
that true?
It was a training session.
A
Yeah,
training session.
it wasn't even a game. It was I was at uni, and I didn't know that women played rugby until I was 19, which is, it's really sad to really say, and people were quite surprised by that, I guess. And there was there was like a trials thing just to get more women in the club. So I went down my second year, running around, no idea what was going on. I'd watched rugby for years with my dad, like the England team on the telly, but I'd never really watched anything else. Just sort of, I remember it really clearly. I'm in a sports hall. That's how it was. And just caught the ball, and I was like, "Oh, this is great." We're not even playing contact; we're playing touch. And I was like, "In." And that was it. I never went back to. I played hockey at school up to that point, and I was a goalkeeper. So probably the closest position you could get, because you can run into people as a keeper.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of contact involved in that and diving around. So yeah, it was probably the closest I was going to get, and that was
Now
it.
I'm
I never played again.
understanding why you are crazy. Hockey goalkeepers are amongst the most bonkers people on the
Oh,
planet.
it was great. I used
Why
to love it. I
why
really
would you
loved
do
it.
that? Why would you be a
Well, you're
hockey
covered in
goalkeeper?
pads. It's not like it's not like it hits you. I mean, it does occasionally, but no, I
That's
really loved it. So it was kind of like a close connection to what I guess I'd done before in that respect, and that was it. Done
but
from
you
19.
you've played at Twickenham.
I did. I will say that was being carried on the back of the team I was playing for, rather than me being there
Uh,
on my
you've
own
got an
merit.
appearance at Twickenham. You've got an appearance at Twickenham. That is
I still
awesome.
have my shirt. It's got my name on the back as well, which is a whole other topic. I think that it's a real shame that women's names aren't on the back of their club shirts. And another thing that I'm going to continue to try and champion in next season, really annoy all the owners of all the Prem clubs until somebody listens. Yeah, it's got my name on the back, and so I think it's the only shirt I actually have, like playing shirt I have, that's ever had my name on. So it's still in the wardrobe with the silver medal. We didn't win the game, but I still own it. You know, I still have it. I'll never let it go. It's hung up next to a signed England women's shirt. Funny enough, when I have enough space and I have a house, and I will, it will be on the wall in a frame. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, I don't
You
have that
need an
kind of wall
office.
space. Yeah.
You need an office that's your own. That's what I've got. It's an amazing thing to think that you had no idea, and now here you sit
Mm.
as a whatever title you want to give it: influencer, game changer, personality, I don't know, celebrity,
Don't
whatever
know if
you
I'd
want to
use any
call
of
it.
those.
But you started off with no knowledge at all, and in a really short space of time, you're right at the forefront of somebody making connections and pushing things forward. Now, I don't buy the I just wanted to make an impact on one person. I don't buy that.
That's it.
You
No, that's it. Everything
you
comes
were
back to that.
but you can't now hope that that's what happens. Now it has to be a bigger
No,
change.
honestly, I really do. I think Steph says it's, rugby's about leaving the jersey better than you found it, and for me, my life is about leaving the world a better place than when I got here. And if that means one person has a slightly better experience because they were able to see their role models and follow a passion, or they can feel slightly less alone in something, or don't have to go through the experiences I've been through, then for me, the world's a better place. So it only has to be one person, and it will forever only be a case of it being one person. If it's more, then you know what, absolute win. But one person for me, having a slightly better experience than other people have. That's it every time.
Well, please don't leave now, because you've already achieved that times lots and lots and lots. I think I've spoken about this before to players. I think lockdown helped the women's game because social media, the women's players are so engaging on social media,
Mm,
and they seem to embrace it as a way to stay in touch. And because lots of them weren't furloughed because they weren't employed by clubs, they were still able to produce content, and they were still able to engage. And then the Six Nations, while it was frustrating, it was behind closed doors. There was a great opportunity to show on TV because there wasn't much to watch, and they got an audience. And I
yeah.
think a lot of people arrived at that point. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think it's in the time when you're living it, it's extremely difficult. And if you look at the numbers of how women's sport was dropped in compared to men's sport and all those kind of things, there was a very clear disparity between the two. But if we're now technically on the other side of it, um, and you look back, we had the I Am Enough movement, the I Care movement, the Women's Six Nations moved to its own window, which has now been officially given its own window, and those are positive things. You know, the like you say, the attendance numbers to matches are record numbers every time because the stadium keeps getting bigger, the number keeps going up. So if you look back, yes, in many ways, I think COVID ended up having a positive effect. But I think living through it, there were many, I think it's pretty tough, and it would have been hard for any of the players who had to live through it. But overall, I'd hope that actually there was a positive, and it gave us time. I don't think if I hadn't have been, at home every day for forever, for 2 years or whatever it was, um, I wouldn't have had the time to sit back and go, okay, actually, maybe there's something that we need to do around this Canterbury kit thing, and maybe this movement's a good idea. And I'd probably been distracted with work or doing something else or whatever plans we would have had. So being sat at home, you could look at things with a bit more time and a bit more of a broader picture and go, okay, we should do this. And Steph went on to do I Care, and I don't know if they'd have happened if we'd have just been in normal day-to-day life. And if the I Am Enough movement didn't happen, No Woman No Try certainly wouldn't have happened. So yeah, I guess I personally have to say, in the end of the day, it was safer than me baking banana bread, because it turns out I'm really bad at baking. So everyone else can speak to that.
Yeah, so lots of people found hobbies in lockdown. You decide to make a movie and change the world. Yeah, that's just how you roll.
That's the sort of running joke at the moment. But honestly, you don't want me baking. I'll say that as a fact.
So the movie's out. You've been to all the events. You're speaking to people. You're planning a tour. There's all sorts of things going on. The Six Nations was spectacular in many ways. A bit sad in others that England ran away with it, which is, and the squad they have is just outrageous, and
phenomenal, isn't it?
It's up to everybody else to pick up and try and catch. You certainly don't want to put the handbrake on them at all. What do you see happening for this next period of time as we go towards a World Cup and hopefully Six Nations can grow? Is there a lot of optimism?
I think so. I think you're right that the other nations are going to have to find a way to step up. There's little pockets of it here and there. You've seen New Zealand have given contracts, Italy have given contracts. We've just seen, as you said earlier, that Scotland have given their package. Wales have their contracts, etc. So we're getting there. And I think they might feel short term now, and they do feel a little short term, but it's a step in the right direction, and you do it once, hopefully you'll start to consider doing it again. And I'd say that all of those nations will see a benefit from that. Maybe 12 weeks is a little too short a time to prep for a World Cup, having not been professional, but it's something. And I know everyone says we shouldn't be grateful for just a little bit, but we can be grateful there's progress made. And that's down to all the players, I'd say, fighting for it. So yeah, I think we're in a really good position. I don't know how long it will take for a team to catch up to England. Like you say, I think the final for me will be an England, either France or New Zealand, unless somebody comes away with an absolute storming campaign. I think that's the final. And from what we've seen with France in the Six Nations, even at home in France, that there wasn't really a close game, realistically. So New Zealand are going to have to pull something really big out, I think. So maybe next Six Nations we'll see a bit of a closer contest. If not, we might have to wait a couple more years before maybe Wales catch up or somebody else has started to work it out.
I was at the Scotland-England game at the Damhill Stadium, and it was just spectacular. It was blue sky and sunshine. Crowd was there. Maggie was there, Burf was there. There was a whole load of people in the crowd watching. Judy Murray was there. It was just spectacular. And the crowd, there was an announcement made that the players weren't able to stay for selfies and all this kind of thing. It just completely went out the window. It was brilliant. They were all over it. There was so many people queuing and shouting their names and desperate to be part of it. And the players, I don't know if they lap it up or if they just see it as a role, but they spent so much time engaging. How important?
It's a bit of both. Yeah, I think
how important is that? How important are those moments? Because not everyone can be at those games to make that connection, but everybody sees the post on social media.
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, I think they, from what I understand from Shauna, is that they want to do it as much as they know how vital it is to help inspire that next generation. And I don't think we'll have this long. You don't really get it in the men's game anymore. They just circle the pitch after club matches. You certainly can't get it at Twickenham. So I think they're making the most of it whilst they can. Once the game becomes a bit more distant, like the men's, then they won't be able to. So those one-to-ones aren't going to last forever. And I think it's probably quite wonderful for them to go from especially the closed Six Nations, nobody, to having suddenly hundreds of people desperate to have a photo with you, to have a signature on something that they bought, and that, yeah, I think it's pretty wonderful for them. I certainly think it looks fab. I love watching them do it, watching them just walk around for hours. They're out there. It's got to be bad for their recovery, but they literally just walking around, even if they're cold, just making sure they've got as many people as possible.
Who do you look at and think that would have been my role model when if you were 10-year-old Victoria running around on a Sunday morning? Who would you have wanted to be?
Good question. I'm gonna
And
say I
you're
wanted
not
to
allowed to
be.
say you're not allowed to say Emily Scarrett, because everybody would say Emily Scarrett.
No, I'm sure it probably would have been her realistically, but I think I would have actually. I love Ellie Kildunn and I love Abby Dow and Leanne Riley as well. I was always really interested in the nine when I was a kid. So yeah, probably one of those three.
Yeah. Helena Rowland is just off the hook for me. It's just play her anywhere and she'll still be
Yeah.
outstanding. But Rona Lloyd's my favourite, always going to be my favourite. Rona is just bonkers. We've not got a lot of time left, Victoria. What's your thoughts on that idea of a British team? Do you think that's realistic, or is that at the moment a bridge too far?
I don't see why not. I think they'd have to be. I think a coach would have to be very liberal in making sure that it's not just an England team, because there are plenty of players out there who would deserve to be in it. So it just couldn't be too one-sided. But I don't think it has to follow the men's structure in the same way. It doesn't have to go to those same countries. It could do, but why not make it different? You could. There's no reason why you can't have a British team. Just look at making the structure work for the women's game. Why aren't we going to Spain? Why aren't we going to the USA and Canada? Countries that are further forward in the women's game, or in many ways probably need a little bit more development time as well, and actually somewhere for us to go. It doesn't have to exactly follow. I think that's the mistake we make. Is saying, well, this is what we do for the men, so we'll do the same again. We have a British team, and we should have a British. I don't see why not. You know, we are actually Great Britain. But maybe just look at the execution being slightly different to fit around what works best for the women's game. And realistically, why not? You've got the men going and covering one part of the world. Why can't the women go and cover and grow the game in another part of the world? You know, split the difference. If anything, it's just creating a bigger product. But then you've got the politics and all that kind of thing. And I'm sure there's a reason
let's not talk
why
politics.
we'd have to do the same thing. But no, exactly. So if you do anything, why not? Why not make it similar but different? And I think a British team would be absolutely fantastic, especially for the development of the women around sort of some of the England training and things like that. It's a great way to do it. So I don't see why not.
Would you get to go to the World Cup? Are you going to be there?
I don't think so. It's not looking like it's on the cards this year.
Are you kidding me on? Surely there's an invite. I thought you'd be presenting the trophy.
Should be. No. No, no, I'm not going.
Oh, well, you'll be watching it from afar like the rest of us,
I
excited
will. I'll
by
be up
it.
at 2 o'clock in the morning watching all the games.
And your prediction is?
England win.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it. They're just going to continue to break records.
Yeah.
Victoria, I've absolutely loved speaking to you. I hope there's a chance for a part two. We've not spoken about half the things that I thought we might have got into, but I've absolutely loved it. As we get to the end of these, I ask guests to finish a sentence for me. I did give you a little bit of a prompt, but I'm not sure where this is going to go. So for you, Victoria, happiness is?
Knowing I've left the world in a better place than when I found it.
I love that. I love that. Amen and mic drop. Victoria, thank you very much. I hope at some point we get to meet in person. Thank you so much for joining us.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Well, there you go. That is rugby royalty, I reckon, and somebody who is leaving the world in a better place than she found it. So much in there, so much to grab hold onto and to go forward with, and making a difference to so many people. If you've enjoyed it, you can catch us on Apple, Acast, and Spotify, and you can watch on Facebook and YouTube. Give us a like, give us a review, tell your friends, and make sure everybody knows that the Happiness Is podcast is out there with great guests. We've got many more to come, and there's many more in the bank. Go and have a look at the back catalogue, and there's bound to be something there for you. In the meantime, my name is Bruce Aitchison from the Happiness Is podcast, and my happiness is egg shaped. I look forward to speaking to you all again very, very soon. Thank you.